Welcome back to the story, everyone. Now, let's follow Bok Vu as he strides forward confidently. As the sound echoed, the doors slowly creaked open, revealing Bok Vu, who appeared self-assured and unwavering. Despite the lingering tension from the battle, he walked calmly, as if everything was well within his control. The innocent newcomer had gained a slight upper hand, but the recorder for the investigation team was anything but ordinary. He recalled that Team 7 had departed the tower from the White Stone 4 hours ago. And yet, here they were, returning from the Green Stone? Lam Go Nhu and Thuong Tiu had returned to the tower. And once the magnetic panel was cleared, everything gradually became clearer. After all, Bok Vu had previously mentioned in the hospital that the second building now lay within the Green Zone. Yet both still could not immediately rejoin the fray, because the body could not withstand passing through the stone twice within a span of 12 hours. The recorder was even more surprised. To him, Bok Vu's wish upon first exiting the tower had lingered outside for over 4 hours. Perhaps this was indeed the very first time in his life. For those in the investigation team, half a lifetime of strength was not the ultimate standard for measuring power. The time spent outside the tower, unaffected by emotions, was also an exceedingly significant metric. At this moment, unexpectedly, 59 interjected into the lively conversation between Bok Vu and the others, announcing to Bok Vu that there would be no missions for the upcoming week. "Why are there no missions?" Bok Vu asked. Slightly taken aback, Nok Nu explained, "Today's actions were merely an entrance examination, and Bok Vu has qualified." After completing the formalities, he officially joined the investigation team. Bok Vu fell into a moment of contemplation, choosing not to speak further. After all, the tower was a realm of survival, and the most pressing matter now was that he had once been a beggar, needing to find a way to earn a little money. Within the tower, the concept of day and night seemed to fade away. Yet, the ceiling, towering 900 meters high, still simulated the transition between day and night. As darkness descended, Goku sat in the office, diligently writing in his investigation journal. On the table, 5 performance evaluation charts were presented in a hexagonal data format, showcasing 6 attributes, including survival skills, combat abilities, analytical capabilities, adaptability, psychological potential, and resilience to harm. The royals excelled in combat prowess, yet their analytical abilities were somewhat lacking, especially among the aristocracy, where almost no analytical skills were found. As for Yen Song, he was the brain of the team, but this time, it seemed he had no opinion. "Because your tasks have been entirely handled by a newcomer." And Bok Vu's analysis chart was truly peculiar. His adaptability, analytical skills, and psychological potential all reached their maximum, while his combat and survival abilities were nearly non-existent. This was the first time 59 had given such an evaluation to a newcomer. He reminisced about the squad he once led, those soldiers who had stood by his side, surely not encountering anyone like Bok Vu. A bold prediction flickered in his heart. If Bok Vu could maintain this state, perhaps it wouldn't be long before a second level 8 master would emerge within the investigation team. But thinking of the gamble Bok Vu had just escaped, Nok Tu felt deep down that the matter was far from over. He resolved to take 2 actions. The first was to destroy Bok Vu's combat analysis report, rewriting it into a much more ordinary-looking document. He attempted to conceal Bok Vu's true condition. The second thing he did was call someone. "Hello, Kai Thoi, is everything alright?" The voice on the other end was that of a clear, youthful girl. "It's me, Nok Ton Nok, the renowned figure of New Jia. Get lost. Why do you need to call me treasure? Whatever you need, just get out. I have a long-term task, please help me protect someone." Nok knew he had no desire to prolong the conversation with a woman, nor had he ever referred to anyone as treasure. Kai Thoi was a place he had once worked, aptly named. Money can make Kai Thoi bend. The principle of this office was straightforward: pay up. "I can do anything. Are you in love?" The voice on the other end suddenly rose in excitement. "I will send you his information later, he is my teammate. Moreover, his detection ability is formidable, so you should be careful." The girl on the other end sounded skeptical. Strange, why not let the investigation team handle the protection? But Nok Nu chose not to elaborate. Because this matter doesn't align with the investigation team. The girl on the other end understood Nok Ngu's personality and chuckled softly, saying, "Come on, what's the payment?" 59 seemed to have anticipated her response. "Every time I leave the tower, I'll bring you something," the girl responded without hesitation. Everyone hopes to find someone from the investigation team to bring back some bargains. Ultimately, when opportunities arise, a big score could be made. But figures like Nok Nu had never engaged in such practices. Thus the girl on the other end couldn't help but feel curious, wondering who it was that Nok Nu intended to protect this time. At that moment, Bok Vu stood at the modest port at the base of the tower, facing off against the villains. She had never felt fear, yet now stood hesitantly before the Cam Bao Boy shop. Unsure whether to enter, the shop owner, Lu Cam, with tears brimming in her eyes, pleaded, "Nyan, please let me explain. In my heart, there is only you. People always say they love me, yet in their hearts, there's only me. So please tell me, who is this man?" Another man screamed in despair. "Tell me, this can't be real. I've saved every coin outside the tower, hoping for your better life. Why does this man claim to be your boyfriend? Why?" Upon hearing this, Lu Cam stepped back, her sobs echoing in the night sky. Under the stage lights, Lu Cam cried out in agony. "Nyan, Fong, I'm sorry. You are both too wonderful, the fault lies with me. But I love you both. I only wish to protect you from harm. That is why I have always hidden this truth, unwilling to part from you. You are the wings that lift me." Nyan and Fong, standing beside Lu Cam, formed a sturdy triangle. Meanwhile, Bok Vu stood outside, coldly observing this scene of heartache. Hai Hao cannot be underestimated. The words struck like a well-aimed arrow. Moments later, Nyan and Fong slung their arms around each other and left, smiles gleaming on their faces. Perhaps it was the pride of masculine beings that drew them together. While Lu Cam's expression darkened within the store, whistling a cheerful tune, Lu Cam took out a small mirror and began to apply makeup. "Did I arrive at the wrong time?" Bok Vu, with deep respect for Hai Hao, stepped into the store. "Oh, Bok Vu, you arrived earlier than I expected." Lu Cam put away her makeup mirror. Her mood evidently lifted. "So what's going on here? A car crash?" Bok Vu did not rush to discuss. "No, it's just that these two have gone too far. They always dream of developing together with me. It's truly, if you love, then go ahead and love. Moreover, I haven't been fond of this kind of fresh-faced youth lately. That is why I called both of them here, to handle everything at once." The scene just witnessed made Bok Vu momentarily forget the suffering he had recently endured. It was far from simple. "This is a retrieval vehicle. What do you need from me? Don't look at me that way. The truth is, I have recently come to like people like you. Hence this situation." "That's good news." Bok Vu paid no attention to Lu Cam approaching. "Reach out and feel for your backpack. The camera you asked me to bring for you. He has memorized it well. This is a camera capable of recalling the past, as long as you think of a moment and point it at a scene to capture. It will immortalize that moment." When Bok Vu spoke to Lu Cam about the Kiet Lin camera, Lu Cam's eyes lit up like neon lights. After all, she was the true owner of this camera, and its extraordinarily useful capabilities were beyond dispute. Just the probability of items being sent from outside the tower was enough to leave one in awe. For instance, the rice cooker was the arch-nemesis Bok Vu had always anticipated. This story must begin from the first time Bok Vu officially left the tower. After Shui Tu Van brought Bok Vu to the modest port, Ung Tu was incensed by the deceitful advertising at the docks and wanted to argue, while Thien Yen, uneasy, rushed to intervene, leaving Bok Vu to wander alone. Finally, after traversing half the port, she paused before Lu Cam's shop. Before she could step inside, the eyes of Bok Vu revealed their true nature. Yet, those eyes gazed upon a style that matched the temperament of their owner. Noting and interpreting the hidden meanings, one could only wonder if this could be considered the innermost feelings of Bok Vu. Fortunately, Bok Vu had never had a boyfriend. Facing Lu Cam, who had hundreds of backup boyfriends, and who was adept at managing multiple affairs, he dared not act recklessly. He paid no mind to her incessant glances and casually surveyed the shop. A cup able to boil water in mere moments, if taken outside the tower for a few days, could be refined into a portable water purifier. A rice cooker of the Kiet Lin level within 2.5 days. If he wished to take it along, it would be best not to label it. The battle was not against Bitch Dai Ma Vong, for them. Ma Fong Bao held no significance. 139 tars. At this price, it would have surely been considered a low-quality rice cooker in the past. However, if Kiet Lin succeeded and transformed into a pot capable of converting ingredients into delectable dishes, it would undoubtedly yield colossal profits. "Do you see anything good, young man?" At that moment, Lu Cam at the cashier inquired of Bok Vu. Bok Vu had no intention of pursuing Hai Hao, seriously expressing his desire to purchase the cup and the rice cooker. Nevertheless, Lu Cam was no weak girl. Just from Bok Vu's choice, she sensed something deeper. "You have a discerning eye. This cup is truly a fine piece. But this pot? It holds no value. Merely a trick to deceive the foolish. You're not a fool, and I don't wish for you to become one. My name is Liu Cam. Do you wish to step outside the tower? Young man? As Liu Cam spoke, she advanced towards Bok Vu, finally clarifying what he intended to do. Bok Vu silently admired her boldness but refrained from answering her question. Instead asking for the prices of the two items. It was just reduced by 50%. But now I must be more cautious. 10,000 tars are free, you choose. By the way, I'm the only one selling pots on this entire lower floor. Bok Vu fell silent upon hearing Liu Cam's words. Those dwelling in the tower's depths subsisted on powdered nutritional meals, which she despised. Liu Cam contemplated acquiring a pot capable of transforming ingredients. She paid no heed to Bok Vu's thoughts and continued speaking. Ordinary people wouldn't want to purchase when I've clearly stated that this pot is junk. In this era, pots have lost their utility. No one buys them, unless a miracle occurs. Moreover, the cup within the tower is utterly useless unless your destination lies beyond its walls. As Liu Cam spoke, she leaned closer to Bok Vu's neck. Bok Vu stepped back, opting for a compromise. He informed Liu Cam that he chose the free option. After all, who knows, this rice cooker might just become a legendary tool. Although free items are often the most expensive. Alright, I'll wrap it up for you. On the other side, Liu Cam beamed with a bright smile, quickly searching for a bag. She skillfully packed up the cup and rice cooker, but did not forget to include a worn-out camera. Faced with Bok Vu's suspicious gaze, Liu Chengze beamed brightly and offered a witty explanation. Don't worry. Little beauty, you need not fret. I truly know nothing. I just happened to throw this camera in with your goods. Bok Vu wasn't overly surprised. Yet she understood precisely why Liu Chengze had done so. She always knew how to seize an opportunity and had a keen eye for observation. There are a few trinkets that you simply cannot refuse. Before long, you will naturally discover this camera and kindly return it to me. Truly, you are a kind-hearted person. Liu Chengze continued to concoct reasons. Bok Vu did not inquire about the origin of the camera, but from the notes, she could surmise a portion. A camera without film, yet it held numerous secrets. Perhaps this girl longed to uncover the images the camera had captured. Just removing it from the tower would render everything possible. When Bok Vu curiously asked how Mi Cat Lam would react if the camera was taken outside, Liu Chengze merely shrugged indifferently. After all, the rice cooker and cup had already been gifted to Bok Vu. Little beauty, let's give it another chance. My name is Liu Chengze. Liu Chengze observed Bok Vu packing her belongings, grinning innocently, and introduced himself. I am Bok Vu. Bok Vu did not hesitate any longer and left with this strange mission. I wish you a delightful collaboration. Young Master Bok Vu. On the other side, Liu Chengze maintained his sweet smile. Yet no one could fathom what percentage of it was reserved for the camera during this first encounter. Returning to the present, Liu Chengze eagerly listened as Bok Vu introduced the camera's functions. Immediately diving into experimentation, Liu Chengze was privy to many secrets and was aware of the moments those secrets were born. This filled him with an overwhelming excitement. It was a pity that no one could truly uncover Bok Vu. He raised the camera, a gentle smile gracing his lips. First, let's discuss the compensation. Suddenly, Liu Chengze's expression shifted dramatically. Compensation? Bok Ca, I'm a girl. Could you perhaps give me a discount? Or maybe gift it to my mother. And I will forever remember your kindness. Bok Vu curled her lips. I have no interest in girls. If you can produce something right here and now, I will give you a discount. Liu Chengze found himself at a loss for words. However, he resolved to persist a little longer. Inching closer to Bok Vu given the current situation. Bok Ca, I truly don't have much money left. If it doesn't work out, may I offer myself to you? Bok Vu maintained her calm demeanor, her gaze sharp as a blade. Girls often deceive themselves, believing that the beautiful image captured in the camera reflects their true selves. But we all know that the truth cannot withstand distortion. It turned out to be a blank space. Bok Vu glanced at her notes and stepped back. Her behavior made Liu Chengze feel somewhat hesitant. He was uncertain how to approach Bok Vu. Instantly, Liu Chengze sighed in frustration. Alright, I want the fireworks. Bai Wu handed the camera to Liu Chengze, saying, this is up to you. To use it, just discard the date, the time, and directly chant the duration. Liu Chengze fiddled with the camera for a moment. Then, he chanted the time from about 10 minutes ago and turned to the side. He was eager to relish the silly expression on his face when their two arms had just clashed. Bai Wu observed where Liu Chengze was taking the photo, perhaps guessing what moment he wished to capture. This girl is so gentle and quite straightforward. Does she not fear encountering misfortune one day? Bai Wu exclaimed unexpectedly. I only want more lovely people to feel the sweetness of love. Did I do something wrong? Lu Chengze was well aware that he was quite childhood sweethearts with her. Faced with Bai Wu's question, he responded humorously. At that moment, the camera flashed, and the photo slowly slid out. In it, two men appeared with expressions of anger and suspicion, looking utterly mad. Lu Chengze's eyes brightened instantly. Got it, got it. This camera is truly a jackpot. If he kept snapping away, wouldn't he uncover history? Bai Wu was taken aback, immediately unable to react. That's right, this camera can be used like that. As long as you keep taking photos, each picture can be pieced together like a puzzle to reveal history. Right? Lu Chengze looked at Bai Wu, his eyes filled with hope. Why isn't this camera working? It's not my fault. It suddenly stopped taking pictures. Bai Wu was not surprised, for her soul's sending time was only 3 hours, and its efficiency was very limited. It could only be used twice a week. Last time, I used it outside the tower. You have to wait 7 days before you can use it again. Is that so? Lu Chengze bowed his head, contemplating the value of the camera. Although its usage frequency did not meet his expectations, if utilized wisely, it could be a powerful tool for information gathering. Moreover, Bai Wu was not only beautiful but also exuded a captivating chill. He felt that bargaining would be quite challenging, even though he wanted to give it a try. Upon hearing Bai Wu's calm tone, an equivalent exchange, trade item for item, do not attempt to devalue me to drive down the price. Doing so only makes me see you as quite petty. You can choose items of equivalent value, information services, or combine them, as long as I find it reasonable. Lu Chengze was taken aback, thinking to himself, will this service shock him? In any case, intuition told him that Bai Wu could not be so calm. Yet, there were items of equivalent value that he could not find in the store. Then tell me what you want. Lu Chengze dared not use counterfeit goods to deceive Bai Wu. He sensed Bai Wu's gaze, sharp as a knife. Bai Wu nodded in appreciation. The area around the port is simple. Yet what intriguing secrets do the live broadcasting devices hidden there hold? Lu Chengze was taken aback by Bai Wu's sudden leap of thought but enthusiastically explained. Live broadcasting is the hottest trend right now. They say it has existed since the time of the tower. The people are quite enamored with it. The more reputable one is in this field, the easier it is to attract attention. But with your sharp eyes, can't you see that it's a deception? Bai Wu shook his head. I knew it was a deception long ago. But I want to ask, does this thing that has existed from the beginning truly represent a deception? Or is the live broadcast outside the tower the real truth? In fact, there is some truth to it. Lu Chengze perceptively recognized the deeper meaning behind Bai Wu's question. It seems you are particularly interested in live broadcasting? If I'm not mistaken, live broadcasts cannot always be fakes. After all, the people are not that foolish. There will surely be genuine instances mixed in with the fakes. I want to learn more about some data. Upon hearing Bai Wu's acknowledgement, Lu Chengze immediately felt relieved. Could this increase the value of the camera? It could. Please tell me some details about reliable live broadcasts. Bai Wu did not hold back. Speaking plainly, Lu Chengze's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm as he stepped past Bai Wu into the interior. Then you've come to the right person. Follow me inside. Let's sit down and have a clear conversation. The core of any relationship is trust. And the simplest way to build trust is to turn the other party into friends. As soon as they returned to the tower, Bai Wu immediately sought out Lu Chengze to discuss Ji Ling's camera. After all, in this life, she was merely a wretched soul sold and resold. After some light bargaining, Bai Wu successfully got Lu Chengze to lead her to a small secret room. Once seated, Lu Chengze began to share some basic rules of the trade. He was very intrigued by Bai Wu's desire to learn about live broadcasting outside the tower. From their conversation, Bai Wu gleaned much useful knowledge. For instance, those living on the lower floors of the tower go outside daily under the protection of the investigation squad to gather resources and green herbs in the white area. However, most of them lack knowledge about the world outside the tower, as the investigation squad eliminates any dangers beforehand. Thus, the number of those who have truly witnessed peril is scarce. Everyone lives in fear of the unknown. Yet, at the same time, they yearn to confront the lurking dangers. This was one of the reasons why the live broadcasts outside the tower maintained their allure. However, for Bok Vu, this was far from a novel experience. After all, she had been cast out of the tower upon her arrival. The nobles on the third and fourth floors were all eager to assert themselves through perilous encounters. The sight of cannibalism, especially for the ordinary folk on the lower floors, was truly horrific. David Fincher once remarked that within every human lies a deviant. This served as inspiration for his works. With a haughty expression, Bok Vu had compiled all the information regarding Lu Trung-tu. Lu Trung-tu had no knowledge of who David Fincher was. But he pondered for a moment, if I were a deviant, I would undoubtedly be a lovesick one. Intriguingly, everyone was eager to witness the unfolding events outside the tower, longing to immerse themselves in the blood-soaked thrill. They hungered to explore the vast world beyond the tower. The tower was indeed monumental, yet compared to the boundless lands of humanity that existed before its rise, it was but a grain of sand within the ocean. For those who dared not step outside, the realm beyond the tower was a land shrouded in mystery. Whether rich or poor, noble or commoner, all were irresistibly drawn to the enigma that lay beyond. But for them to truly dare to venture outside the tower was another matter entirely. Bok Vu fully understood Lu Trung-tu's sentiments. The craving for adrenaline had birthed a market brimming with potential, and humanity had never shied away from taking risks. As for why the investigative forces could not intervene in these matters, it was simply because only the Legion commander and the 16 division commanders were permitted to leave the tower. Others could not leave without authorization. This was quite understandable. The investigative forces were tools of the ruling powers. No one wished for their blades to fall into the hands of merchants. Should the military become militarized, the factions within the tower would likely descend into chaos. In some respects, this was also a means of maintaining order. However, Bok Vu harbored no fondness for the Tianlong Nian on floors 345. During her free time, as long as she concealed her identity, it was sufficient. If she remained undiscovered, Lao Vong would still be a kind neighbor. At that moment, Lu Trung-tu interrupted Bok Vu's train of thought. The theme had returned to its original purpose, live streaming outside the tower. After all, there were countless souls longing to explore the world beyond, and this endeavor was met with widespread anticipation. However, they faced the challenge of being unable to utilize technological devices outside the tower. Everyone searched high and low for ways to livestream, of course. The method was merely a magical artifact. Bok Vu followed Lu Trung-tu's line of thought and arrived at an answer. Indeed, only a magical artifact could function outside the tower. This process took quite a long time, and many items were brought out from the tower. Yet, almost none of the items had recording capabilities. Even if they did, live broadcasting was impossible. About 7 years later, a colossal company invested a staggering sum, and after bringing out a variety of items from the tower, they finally crafted a pair of magical handcuffs. The handcuffs appeared to be ordinary at first glance, but in truth, they were a surveillance device, weren't they? Bok Vu felt a bit embarrassed, yet the tale unexpectedly made him chuckle. To his astonishment, he had unwittingly destroyed a precious artifact in the past. Although he wasn't overly concerned about this, he raised his head to ask Lu Trung-tu, if the activation of a magical artifact relies entirely on luck, how could that merchant ensure it? Even the gloves behind could be activated, but there were no guarantees. However, the person who exited the tower with the magical artifact that time brought not just one pair of gloves. The consensus among the crowd was clear: if the probability of a single item activating was incredibly low, then taking along a heap of items wasn't a bad idea at all. As a result, without any debate, all 13 pairs of gloves activated, each possessing the same ability. This phenomenon is referred to as diffused activation. Much like a master of dual swords, when summoning a spirit, both swords would activate. Nevertheless, the occurrence of diffused activation is exceedingly rare. Bok Vu could sense that at the moment an item became sentient, there was a certain probability that similar items would also come to life. Yet this probability remained an enigma, which later led to the emergence of peculiar handcuffs capable of connecting to screens within the tower. Were they surveillance devices? Why was such a remarkable item not utilized by the investigation team? Bok Vu questioned again. Because the investigation team could not purchase them, the giant had no intention of selling the handcuffs. Lu Trung-tu patiently explained, a notion that Bok Vu could grasp with a bit of contemplation. Suppose in this world, only he could livestream. The exclusive profits would be unimaginably vast. The prerequisite being that one must possess the strength to maintain that exclusivity. It turned out that this giant was no ordinary figure. Indeed, those in the investigation team dared not approach him. There were whispers that he might hail from the 5th floor. At present, the two were in a small room. Lu Trung-tu did not hesitate to speak frankly. The ruling lair, you say? At this moment, Bok Vu's thoughts became much more complex than those of Lu Trung-tu. From his demeanor during the previous betting match he participated in, It was clear that the identity of the one orchestrating this gamble was far from simple. Then who alerted the investigation team to seek me out? It could be affirmed that the identity of the opponent stemmed from nobility. But who would dare offend the boss of this gamble over a mere beggar? Bok Vu felt a turmoil within, involuntarily furrowing his brow. Furthermore, this boss had a background that was far from ordinary. If my identity were exposed, would 59 still be able to protect me? Most importantly, if I wanted to livestream outside the tower, would it attract attention from the gamblers? So, did the livestream truly need to contact that giant? Is there any way to acquire the livestream equipment? Bok Vu only posed a question for a moment before raising his head to continue probing. Lu Trung too could indeed make contact. I have a boyfriend with connections, Lu Trung too said with a confident smile. Everyone said, I have a friend, and now he has become my boyfriend. Indeed, not everyone can measure the relationships of those from the vast sea. But it is undeniable that this also demonstrates power. He is someone with extensive connections, treading upon 100 boats. Yet he always chooses his boyfriends carelessly. However, now he is willing to be oppressed by a beggar living a solitary life. When Bok Vu asked Lu Trung Tu if there was a way to acquire the livestream equipment, Lu Trung Tu's words, I have a boyfriend with connections, left Bok Vu in awe. But that is indeed the strength of others. Bok Vu could only admire and return to the main issue. I need a spirit level that can alter voices. A mask, preferably one resembling a clown's smiling face. If the voice cannot be changed, it must at least be sturdy enough. Next, the livestream equipment cannot be obtained under my identity. You need to help me keep it from being discovered. Lu Trung Tu listened to Bok Vu's request with a hint of reluctance. Bok Vu seemed to trust in his abilities, but these demands were somewhat complicated. Yet, Bok Vu understood the difficulties he faced. A spirit camera alone is not enough to entice others to take risks. Thus, he quickly increased its value. He asserted that the camera could only be used twice a week. But if he kept it close, the spirit level of the camera would rise. This way, it could be used more frequently in the future. Moreover, if Lu Trung Tu wanted to assist him, the camera was merely the beginning. If there were any other items suitable for the spirit level in the future, Bok Vu would support Lu Trung Tu in bringing them out. The agreement concluded, Lu Trung Tu immediately grasped Bok Vu's hand tightly. He was truly captivated. If Bok Vu's power was sufficient, here lies a tool for producing the spirit artifacts. Remarkably stable. Is it not true that its value surpasses that of all your boyfriends combined? I will help you acquire the livestream equipment, rest assured. I guarantee that no one will discover it. However, I need to become your economic partner. With me by your side, you can focus solely on the livestream, while I take care of everything else. Lu Trung Tu can open a shop in a bustling area without any disturbances, clearly. His connections run much deeper than those of others. Bok Vu had no objections to this. Live streaming requires a stir of excitement. And currently, Lu Trung Tu is in a prime state for such a moment. Yet, instead of the need for camera equipment, he found himself more concerned with, when can we start the livestream at the earliest? Are you in a hurry? About 3 days, I suppose. After a moment, Lu Trung Tu finally responded to Bok Vu's inquiry. Then, the two discussed some details before Bok Vu left Trung Tu's room, heading back to the place that 59 had prepared for him earlier. Bok Vu took out the pull wheel and lifted it. The function of this pull wheel is to bring one back to moments in the past or a specific scene that has been set. He pondered over his next exploration, the area arranged by the challengers or a random zone. But just as Bok Vu was planning his activity outside the tower, there was a sudden knock at his door. Bok Vu, I am a member of the interrogation team's transport crew. Here to see you. A female voice echoed from outside. Bok Vu retracted the pull wheel, having already guessed the intention of the person outside. The interrogation team was busy extracting information below, while simultaneously investigating some serious cases. The team leader sent us to find you, expressing concern that you might be too idle and assigning you a few tasks. At the same time, our team leader recognized your exceptional abilities. Yun Shu did not hesitate to express her purpose. She wore a formal outfit and, upon seeing Bok Vu, broke into a radiant smile. She was an ardent fan. Not just a messenger but also capable of assisting and observing someone else at work. I have noted your contributions from before. Bok Vu focused intently on his notes. Feeling unsurprised, he was well aware that this was the result of the previous interrogation. However, Goku had told him to rest for 7 days yesterday. And now here they were, bringing work to the interrogation team. Clearly, Something was amiss. The interrogation team had finally recognized the urgency within the second-floor investigation. And 59 seemed to be looking for ways to protect himself. But just as Bok Vu agreed and prepared to check in, Yun Shu shyly touched her head. We are facing a multitude of unresolved cases. The captain's intent is that you should take charge of all of them. 7 days may not be enough. Bai Wu felt a weight in his heart. Could it be that the captain had guessed he wanted to leave the tower privately? How intriguing. By piling on the work to monopolize his free time, while also keeping himself always within the captain's sight, Bai Wu thought to himself. I understand now. First, let's take a look. He stepped outside. Perhaps Captain 59 had miscalculated this time. Anyway, Bai Wu had never tried using the Eye of Preler for investigation. It would surely feel like using a cheat. On the second floor of the tower, the simulated time was still daytime. The investigation team was allocated to the 7th team of the interrogation group. As Bai Wu walked down the corridor, he discovered a problem. Were there no computers here? Only on the 3rd floor could that be found. A voice rang out from a pile of documents. Here, we are still not qualified. Tian Tuan, the leader of the 7th team of the interrogation group, pointed to the person in front and introduced them to Bai Wu. Bai Wu, I have heard much about your talents. We truly need your assistance this time. All unresolved cases from the past year are here. Tian Tuan stood up, fatigue etched on his face. The notes on this individual were quite interesting, someone who never cared about the outcomes, only relishing each moment, especially when interacting with women. Bai Wu had yet to fully grasp the deeper meaning of this. However, it seemed that the technology on the 3rd floor could be compared to what he had experienced in his previous life. Would the technology on the 4th floor surpass it? And what about the 5th floor? Could it be the pinnacle of the future? Please tell me the commonalities among these cases. Bai Wu pondered deeply. He then began to question Tian Tuan about each case. These were not your typical serial murder cases. Tian Tuan looked somewhat puzzled. Shouldn't we ask about each case separately to clarify the details? Yet, in reality, these cases bore many strange similarities. In fact, most had already identified suspects. But the methods of the crimes, motives, and evidence remained obscure. You see, down below, often the locals wouldn't cooperate, and you could hardly gather any evidence at all. Bai Wu was somewhat surprised. This truly saved him a great deal of effort. It meant they had accumulated many such cases and had reached the stage of evidence collection? We have indeed been tracking each case closely. You need to know that down below. There is a case every day. The interrogation team of Unit 16 was bustling with activity. In truth, there were certain cases we genuinely wished to avoid. But who could blame us for having a captain like this? Bai Wu pondered. Was it due to the lack of wine? Indeed, the captain was very concerned about these issues. The situation below was truly chaotic. Yet, paradoxically, the captain insisted that we must accomplish something. He wanted the people below to understand that they were not abandoned. That they were more than mere laboring tools. Tian Tuan's words seemed calm. Yet Bai Wu felt a surge of surprise. In a previous life, he had encountered those willing to rise for the people. Many officers took pride in justice as their honor. But now, everything had changed. This was the age of apocalypse. In this world rife with deception and violence, where people merely survived on what was streamed live. Among the lowly, living in delusion, Captain 59 was striving to alter that reality. It seemed that 59 did not have the most significant suspects in these cases. Did you have the authority to detain? Bai Wu refrained from asking further, grasping a file, although our standing was not on par with the military at Tower Gen. Nonetheless, the superiors had granted us some power. At the very least, in handling civilians, we could detain them ourselves and had a full 7 days to gather evidence. Even if we detained the wrong person, after 7 days, releasing them would not raise any questions from above. Bai Wu shook his head slightly, his gaze filled with contemplation. This was not trust in the investigative team, it was the disdain the superiors held for the human rights of the people. It seemed that 59 wanted to change something profoundly challenging. Then let us summon all suspects related to these cases. If the current interrogation team was lacking in manpower, let's call in more members from other teams. Bai Wu recognized just how difficult this change would be. But the determination to tackle the immediate issues came first. It was time to harness the power of the Prayer's Eyes. What experiences would arise from conducting investigations with the Prayer's Eyes? The robust girl, Van Tu, remarked. This was solely Bai Wu's mission. Lai Wu was with Lu Trung too, attending to his money-making tasks. But upon returning home, he was summoned by Go Ku to the interrogation team to handle an old case. Yet with the Prayer's Eyes, he felt no worry. calmly taking a seat. Immediately, he requested the other members to gather all identified suspects. Van Tu and Zan Tu were astonished. With hundreds of cases and hundreds of people, how could it all be managed? Bai Wu was acutely aware of their concern. If things continued as they had in the past life, from investigation to conviction, it would only complicate matters for oneself. But in this life, with the prayer's eyes, nothing was impossible. Solving cases this time was simply, "Hello, sir, I am engineer number 8. Pleased to serve you." Thus, Bai Wu wore a serious expression and addressed the two, saying that when he was outside the tower, the team leader and Lin Nok Xiaomei had never doubted his words. He hoped they would feel the same. Qian Tuan and the two were once again taken aback. Lin Nok had indeed interacted with them. This person was quite adept at sarcasm and not particularly friendly to newcomers. If it could be resolved, there should certainly be no doubt about Bai Wu. About 4 hours later, over 100 suspects from the lower tier had gathered in the interrogation group. The team members pulled out a loudspeaker for the first time. Team leader Qian Tuan felt that this was not very feasible. Yet at this moment, the notes in his hand were being written rapidly. Just as the task was completed, the captain of Class 13, Lu Mu, observed this situation and, unaware of what Interrogation Team 7 was doing, approached Qian Tuan outside the line. "What's going on? Is there a major leak downstairs?" The captain of Class 2 demanded an explanation. Qian Tuan was equally uncertain of what Bai Wu truly intended, so he pondered and continued, stating that these were suspects from previous unresolved cases. All had been summoned. It seemed they wanted to resolve all cases in one go. Lu Mu, upon hearing this, was taken aback. To settle everything at once. This was simply absurd. Was 59 actually investigating a case? This kid must be extraordinarily idle. Lu Mu muttered a few words, shook his head, and returned to Team 13, considering it merely a humorous tale. Not long after, Qian Tuan stepped into the surveillance room. The interrogation of Bai Wu had officially commenced. Wen Shu and Shui Si lingered in the monitoring room. Yet Bai Wu did not choose anyone to listen. The three of them focused intently on the surveillance screen. They felt a thrill of anticipation, wondering how Bai Wu would handle this situation. Unfortunately, the investigation team's monitoring room could not hear any sound. Qian Tuan looked at the woman on the screen. Feeling a slight impression, he recalled that this was a murder case. The victim was the husband of the suspect. Both hailed from the lower class. Yet the woman exuded an air of sophistication, as if she belonged to another world. During Wu Ju's investigation, evidence of her infidelity with other men was uncovered, and her relationship with her husband was fraught with cracks. Like a mad dog that had devoted itself to pursuing a goddess. Ultimately marrying her, but it was only a marriage in name. Therefore, Wu Ju was highly suspicious of this woman. Yet he could not find any convincing evidence. In the interrogation room, Bai Wu silently gazed at the woman, as if waiting for something. The notes from the prayer's eyes required no effort from him to contemplate further. She was not the murderer but an accomplice. A lady who thrived on sharing expenses. Clearly originating from the lower tier, yet deliberately masquerading as a refined lady from the third tier, mingling with the casino manager. Every day, she competes with others over luxurious items, without a single penny saved. Yet, this does not stop her from looking down on her husband, who diligently toils in the mines. It would be best for her younger sister to summon the casino manager from this decadent street. Bok Vu has discerned the true nature of the case. Perhaps she has colluded with some lover, leading to her husband's demise, with the primary motive being money. Thus, he immediately waved towards the surveillance screen. Qian Tuan understood the signal right away and ordered Van Tu to enter the interrogation room once more. In this brief moment, with just a few simple questions, Bok Vu acquired the name of the casino manager. Before Van Tu even had the chance to knock, Bok Vu had already stepped out. Just in time, he requested the files he had recorded regarding the casino manager to be brought here. Separate them for interrogation. As long as they capture the casino manager, Bok Vu would gather valuable notes from this individual. The subsequent steps would become simpler than ever. Bok Vu instructed Van Tu to conduct sharp, targeted questions based on the information he had written. Skillfully employing psychological tactics, Bok Vu pushed the two suspects into a corner, their trust crumbling swiftly, after he unleashed decisive words. Disregarding Van Thu's lingering surprise, he strode straight to the next interrogation room. This case was nearing completion. Just 5 minutes later, the door to interrogation room number 2 swung open. Bok Vu displayed no emotion as he stepped outside. The second case had been handled swiftly. With only a single piece of evidence missing, he merely needed to ask a few questions to confirm the existence of the murder weapon. His prayer-like eyes clearly pinpointed the weapon's location. Therefore, he called for Van Tu to handle the remaining tasks. Yes, the alluring girl was executing her mission. He sent Tuyet Tu to assist. Then, Bok Vu set to work on the third case. The fourth and fifth would unfold in an hour. Tian Tuan burst into the interrogation team's office. Lao Dao and Lao Vong. Quickly lend me personnel from interrogation rooms 3 and 9. Lao Sao and Lao Vong exchanged bewildered glances. They had yet to grasp how rapid Bok Vu's case-solving speed was. Those running errands for interrogation room 7 were no longer sufficient. Team leader 59 was seeking this individual with fervor. The case-solving speed is astonishing, otherwise, I wouldn't need to come to you for assistance. Seeing the two still frozen in place, Tian Tuan had to elaborate on just how swift it was. I'm telling you, don't exaggerate. Lao Sao finally reacted. He approached Tian Tuan. That kid seems to have reviewed the crime script. His performance is exceptionally impressive. Each time, he accurately identifies the evidence of the crime. In just an hour, he has handled over 10 cases. Without further ado, I must swiftly take these files over there. Please hurry and send personnel here. Qian Jun hurriedly departed. He still had to visit other interrogation teams in search of leads. Upon returning to the monitoring room, he found Tuyet Tu and Van Tu already present. As he gazed at the surveillance screen, a sense of impending danger washed over him. For Tuyet Tu had spoken to him. This was already the 13th case that Bai Wu had handled. Tuyet Tu switched off the monitoring equipment, erasing all prior interrogation footage. Moments later, Qian Jun lit a cigarette, voicing his strong intuition. At this rate, Bai Wu might just achieve a miraculous resolution of 100 cases in a single day. Reflecting on the character of team leader Lu Mu of Team 13. Along with the other competitive team leaders, Qian Jun decided to secretly disable the surveillance equipment. In the office of team leader Lu Mu, he clutched the notes from Team 7, feeling a swirl of confusion within. A nearby team member rushed to explain. It was said that interrogation Team 7 had efficiently resolved a backlog of long-standing cases and were now thirsting for manpower to apprehend the fugitive suspects. Furthermore, members of interrogation Teams 3, 9, and 11 had all been dispatched on other missions. Lu Mu felt a twinge of suspicion. He was quite close with team leader Wu Ju. He knew the capabilities of interrogation Team 7 as well as he knew his own heart. If they had accumulated so much over time, the cases should have been concluded long ago. Unless an external force was at work. As Lu Mu pondered this, a realization struck him. Just the other day, that kid from Team 59 had discovered a talented newcomer. The name Bai Wu stirred up a sudden tide of frustration within him. Lu Mu slammed his hand on the table, roaring, "Why does my team have to be number 13? He vividly remembered how Bai Wu had declined to join Team 13. Citing the misfortune associated with the number 13, some said that delayed justice is no justice at all. Yet the truth is that one concession leads to countless others. After Bai Wu accepted the assignment arranged by Wu Ju, on that very day, he had resolved nearly 200 cases. After wrapping up over 100 cases in interrogation Team 7, he rushed to other teams to tackle the lingering cases. Fortunately, the other team leaders were not as strict as 59. Overall, the number of cases was manageable. In the surveillance room of Team 7, Qian Jun gazed at the case reports with immense joy. It was important to know that the team's bonuses depended on their case clearance rate. Yet, deep inside, he worried for Bai Wu's fate. Such a dazzlingly successful day. He wondered, would it bring forth troubles? However, before the situation could worsen, Qian Jun felt an even greater curiosity. Faced with Bai Wu's inquiries, Qian Jun merely shrugged, stating that the interrogation team needed only to submit their conviction reports each month to qualify for bonuses. He recognized that his actions might be excessive, potentially causing some inconvenience. Yet, prior to this, Tian Tuan's radiant smile had sparked his immense curiosity. In response to Bai Wu's questioning, Tian Tuan simply shrugged, affirming that the interrogation team needed only to fulfill their monthly conviction report requirements to be eligible for their bonuses. Before 59 arrived for inspection, team leaders often fabricated reports to deceive, but now, no one dared to do so any longer. Bok Vu understood this well. In 59's eyes, this person appeared as a fragile grain of sand, seemingly weak on the outside, yet resilient within. Gazing at the pitiful expression of Shui Xian, it seemed the interrogation team hadn't received any material support in a long while. Thien Tuan chose not to dwell on this matter further, still approving of Goku's approach, and then inquired of Bok Vu why he had come to seek him out. Bok Vu began to delve into the main topic. He candidly acknowledged that he lacked the ability to solve cases, only happening to be quite skilled in interrogation. He had come to the interrogation team to hone his skills. After questioning the criminal, he would provide the team with the details of the case. This major robbery had nothing to do with him. He was merely present by chance. The reason for the robbery was that the team leader always assigned people to closely follow the case. They had discovered clues beforehand. So in reality, the case had already been cracked long ago. It was just that today marked its official conclusion. Thien Tuan and the three others were left astonished upon hearing this. In such circumstances, even if one claimed to lack talent, it would be hard for others to believe it. Bok Vu asserted that while others might doubt, the files contained complete details about the case and the process of uncovering clues. When asked, everyone could immediately respond by presenting the files. This time, Thien Tuan understood his meaning. These individuals allowed the results of the case to fill the investigative process. And in that, Bok Vu was merely a final tool to examine the crime's procedure. Yet, he could sense that Bok Vu was concealing a different intention. According to Bok Vu, everything must conclude only after the entire case was solved. Clearly, this would delay the resolution of the investigation. To draw the attention of superiors, Bok Vu boldly disclosed his answer to Thien Tuan. In his heart, he had long been prepared. Thien Tuan became even more enigmatic, but something caught his attention. Wasn't Bok Vu trying to obscure his true self? Yet, Bok Vu radiated confidence. Over the past 2 days, he had gained clearer insights. This was indeed the very ground where the criminals thrived. As long as there was no attention drawn from those above, the ones below would continue their actions unabated. Everything needed to intertwine the macro with the micro. On the micro level, crime was instigated by moral decay or minute details that drove them to madness. On the macro level, one needed to contemplate the broader environment that perpetually compelled them to offend. This was not a small group like ours in the interrogation team that could effect change. To alter this environment, support from larger policies was essential. After Bok Vu finished speaking, Thien Tuan felt as though he had been struck. This means, perhaps my perspective is still too narrow. This reason is indeed very sound. Yet, he also realized that what Bok Vu said was not without merit. Thus, he decided not to dwell on other matters. Following the procedures laid out by Bok Vu, he instructed Shui Xian to begin drafting the report. After all, this is considered a significant project. The only issue is that those who take notes, like them, have made considerable progress. Currently, the criminals are being detained one by one. I wonder if Bok Vu remembers every detail of their testimonies? Bok Vu merely smiled. Now was truly the time to cover up, not to forget the past. Isn't this the very standard of the investigation team? History always holds similar astonishing occurrences. This time, it was the turn of the interrogation team of Thien Tuan and Shui Xian. And everyone chose the path of silence. A few days later, in the office of the 7th Legion commander, Goku remained as cold as ever. Before him, Bok Vu stood quietly, like an 8-year-old child who had just been scolded. I heard Thien Tuan say that all the cases were resolved by you. Is that correct? Goku asked bluntly without raising his head. It seems you are quite eager to escape the tower. Quickly resolve the tasks I've assigned. The investigation team is not permitted to leave the tower at will. Bok Vu obediently replied. Then you must work with discretion. If I find out otherwise, you will have to bear grave consequences. Moreover, be aware of your own capabilities. Dangerous situations should be avoided at all costs. Bok Vu increasingly found Goku to be intriguing. Though he appeared serious, the implications behind his words were profoundly insightful. Furthermore, his caution was noteworthy. I have completed all reports regarding the case. Ignoring Bok Vu's reaction, Goku stood up and continued to share. Managing the lower levels is a long-term challenge. This time, the multitude of cases being submitted will create immense pressure for us. However, those who obstruct will face an even greater burden. Many of these cases are linked to their professions. You have performed exceptionally well this time. Goku stepped closer to Bok Vu. His face always bore the weight of an unpaid debt, rarely seen with a smile. He patted Bok Vu on the shoulder. Your contributions are nothing to boast about. If you wish to leave the tower, you may join the equipment team to select a few items. Some require special permissions, but if you bring this, they will let you pass. Bok Vu took Goku's card, his eyes lighting up. The investigation team often ventured outside the tower to gather information, undoubtedly collecting numerous treasures. However, most of these were brought back to equip them. There were also many natural items with mysterious effects, kept safe in the guard area. With this card, you can go in and take a little. Trust me, the guard area is even more accessible than the item retrieval area. Bok Vu glanced at the note and immediately felt he had earned Goku's trust. Does the captain have any further instructions? In 4 days, a high-ranking official will arrive to inquire about the details. It seems that the upper echelons are deeply interested in the matters of this hospital, particularly the vile actions that still maintain a semblance of higher reasoning. They will question everything meticulously. There are those who have known each other for 2.5 days. As Bai Wu submitted the investigation results, Goju's trust in him only grew stronger. Clearly, Bai Wu's actions demonstrate unwavering support for Goju. However, this cannot abruptly alter the plight of the people below. Yet, Goju is willing to bear the pressure from above. In 4 days, a senior official from Zhengdui will come to inquire about the situation at Hospital Number 9. Likely targeting Bai Wu with another package. Bai Wu, of course, understands this, but what he endured in his past life has stripped away his fear. What he worries about is that he cannot let Goju and Lam Go Nhu reveal the pulling wheel, otherwise his future plans will be nearly impossible to execute. Goju watches Bai Wu walk back and forth with a hint of confusion. In his eyes, that wheel is merely an ordinary iron box. Like the returning wheel, although Bai Wu holds a favorable view of Goju, he does not disclose the truth. The wheel symbolizes the order of war. He has studied and comprehended this without feeling ashamed. Goju is not too concerned about this matter either. At this moment, he has become less suspicious compared to the first time he exited the tower with Bai Wu. He vowed to relay information to the other members, then handed Bai Wu a report. This report meticulously documents the exploration process of Hospital Number 9. However, there are certain changes. The tasks of observation and guidance have been entrusted to Bai Wu and Nhi Dao. Bai Wu knows this is not about stealing credit, but rather about self-preservation. He carefully flips through it, noting the changes, then bids farewell to Goju and heads toward the weapons department of the investigative team. Goju has given him a card, naturally agreeing to let him disguise himself outside the tower. After Bai Wu leaves, Goju is alone in the office. His mind somewhat hazy. In truth, he feels quite perplexed. While he had prepared for seemingly impossible tasks over the past 7 days, Bai Wu handled everything in just 1 day. Moreover, he is taken aback by what Bai Wu brings forth. Now, he is compelled to re-evaluate Bai Wu's capabilities. Yet, compared to previous days, he maintains a calm demeanor, revealing no emotions. Recently, the spirits of the 59th team seem to be elevated. At the weapons storage of the investigative team on the 2nd floor of the tower, Bai Wu encounters the person in charge of this area, the weapons group. He is well aware that Wen Shu has feelings for him, but his heart belongs to Shui Xian. Surprisingly, he finds himself to be the third party in this intricate relationship. After Bai Wu presented the badge of 59 and explained his intentions, the person in charge led him to the designated storage room. Looking around, Bai Wu discovered many strange items, but many of them were useless, or in other words, held no value for the investigation outside the tower. For instance, there was a coffee cup belonging to someone named Zhang, found in a cafe in a desolate city that began with a mysterious number. Using it to hold coffee would preserve its exquisite flavor forever, but only for coffee. Or there was a voice-modulating device capable of removing your Adam's apple and automatically adjusting pitch to your liking. Perhaps Lin Wu Ru would find it interesting. Or the pair of gloves that were 100% fingerless, clearly having endured many years, now transformed into gloves. It was just uncertain whether wearing these gloves would still be considered as being without hands. Most of the items here were bizarre and peculiar. But after a moment, Bai Wu managed to find what he needed, a mask painted with a smiling V-shaped face. Indestructible. Yet, your appearance would gradually be revealed depending on the extent of your life's loss. This mask seemed to have a special connection to Bai Wu. He had seen some records related to it in Hospital Number 9. Suddenly, a memory flickered in his mind. Shortly after, he recalled that in Hospital Number 9, he had indeed encountered a document mentioning a masked figure in the neighboring city, who would capture demons and bring them to Hospital Number 9. With this thought, Bai Wu felt a surge of excitement. If this mask truly belonged to that masked figure, it meant someone had once set foot in that city. This did not imply that the world outside the tower was entirely random, rather, each area might conceal intricate connections with one another. Kim Zhu looked at Bai Wu, who was lost in thought beside the mask, feeling a hint of suspicion. You forgot half a day just to fetch a single mask? Bai Wu had no intention of revealing any further information, merely pretending to be unaware that other items here also held value. Compared to the others, this mask still possessed a certain significance. Kim Zoo pondered for a moment and found it to be true. But why not search for something more? When he lifted his head, the white mist gradually dissipated, revealing the mysterious mask. The issue of Bai Wu's identity seemed to have been clarified. As for the other matters, he thought it best to leave them aside for now. Several days had passed, and Bai Wu estimated Lu Chengzi was ready for the live broadcast. He intended to tidy up a bit and uncover a secret. What had the camera Lu Chengzi handed over recorded? On the morning of the 1st, at the makeshift port at the foot of the tower, in Chengzi's shop, Bai Wu stepped in, holding up the mask she had adjusted the day before. Bai Wu, I love you. Is this from the investigation team? How intriguing. May I borrow it for a few days? A time manager like me could surely put it to good use. Tantu did not disappoint anyone. He extended his hand with intent, but it was clear that it was futile. I just wanted to show you my results. Is your equipment and procedure ready? Bok Vu remained polite. And Lu Tantu, hearing this, chuckled with satisfaction. Who do you think I am? Is a small matter like this beyond me? Moreover, if he did not perform well, even the most despicable individuals would have to tread carefully. By noon the next day, the equipment was fully installed. Rest assured, I won't let you be exposed. However, my second boyfriend did not promise to lend it to me. If the broadcast goes well, only then will he allow us to use it long term. Here are the first 3 images planned for the broadcast beneath the tower. The other 2 are with different broadcasting companies. Lu Tantu spoke without pause. As he took out the broadcasting equipment, Bok Vu took the handcuffs and pointed them towards the eye of the chicken. They were similar to the ones she had worn before. But Prell's eye revealed to her that the images would not be transmitted to the 3rd floor but would instead play back on the rudimentary television screen below. Lu Tantu continued to elaborate on his plan. You must be ready. We can deploy immediately. Recent sales broadcasts were all fake, as it was too dangerous outside the tower. Fewer and fewer people were willing to go. In the past year, there had only been 6 broadcasts outside the tower. But among them, 5 broadcasters had been brutally slaughtered. You can imagine the scene inside and outside the tower at that time. The tanks on the lower floors, though terrified, felt a thrill of excitement. Thus, the true masters of the port eagerly anticipated your debut performance. In the apocalypse, the suffering of men is nothing compared to being unarmed, while the suffering of women is simply too beautiful. After Bok Vu used Go Ku's token to obtain the mask, she quickly sought out Lu Tantu to inquire about the broadcast. Thanks to the power of her boyfriend Lu Tantu, the equipment was prepared, and according to the information, the port's masters were looking forward to Bok Vu's debut performance. However, through the 6 previous broadcasts, Bok Vu's survival rate was a mere 16%. After some contemplation, Bok Vu decided to step into the fray. After all, in this lower level, making money sensibly seemed a luxury, and she did not want to let negativity consume her. If she failed, no one could stop her from moving forward. At that moment, Lu Chengzi unexpectedly pulled out 2 outfits from a box, insisting that Bok Vu wear them for the broadcast. Looking at the dazzling costume, Bok Vu couldn't help but shudder. It was a skin-tight superhero outfit from 700 years ago. I advise you to give up, as it really is terrible. Although this outfit was indeed a treasure of Qi Lin, capable of withstanding several attacks. Alright, since it's Qi Lin's treasure, Bok Vu decided to accept this fate. She resolutely refused to remove her coat during the broadcast. Lu Chengzi mused. Perhaps men truly fell short compared to women in the broadcasting industry. Men needed special skills to stand out, while women largely only needed to be beautiful. As for the broadcasting matter, there was still one final step. Bai Wu could not appear under the guise of the investigation team. She had to register as a mercenary. Lu Chengzi had also found a way for this endeavor. It must be said, Bai Wu truly had a keen eye for people. The mercenary camp in the decadent Street of Despair was considered the liveliest place on the lower level. Bai Wu and Lu Chengzi found a portly middle-aged man. According to humanitarian regulations, a mercenary group needed at least 6 members to register. But, my friend, as you know, policies above often have countermeasures below. Just spend 500 terras, and I can create 5 teammates for you. After hearing the middle-aged man's explanation, Bai Wu raised her hands. It seemed he had no teammates and didn't need any. Glancing at Lu Chengzi beside her, he also appeared to be without money. Lu Chengzi could only feel helpless. The free mercenary system was proposed by the nobility through legislation, as it mimicked the 6-member group system of the investigation team. Thus, the amount of money was not randomly suggested by the middle-aged man. Creating a false identity was already difficult, one could only dig into their own pockets. Once the money was in hand, The middle-aged man immediately continued with the process. According to the regulations, you need to fabricate a little. Oh, no, just mention a bit about your teammates' names. But that's fine. Bai Wu truly could not use her own name. So she said, I am Constantine. It sounded quite cool. What about the second person? The middle-aged man picked up a pen and began writing. The third one is, suddenly. The middle-aged man looked up. Are you sure you want to call it that? What about the third person? Next time for sure. The fourth one is. The middle-aged man's experience helped him keep his composure. Lu Chengza behind him could no longer hold back. The fifth one is Lu Chengza. Bai Wu paused for a few seconds before continuing. Lu Chengza's smile suddenly faded. The sixth one may not be necessary either. The middle-aged man looked up at Bai Wu. The calmness on his face completely contrasting with Lu Chengza's frenzy. The question about names was not particularly challenging. There had been people who had chosen much stranger names. But the name Lu Chengza among these glaring nicknames truly stood out. A moment later, the procedure was complete, and Lu Chengza kept following Bai Wu, incessantly talking. He realized that he seemed to always be under Bai Wu's control. Upon realizing this, looking at the scene before him, a wave of confusion surged within him. Where is this place? My family brought you here for easier communication in the future. Bai Wu looked at Lu Chengza. Noticing his bewildered response, in the blink of an eye, Lu Chengza reacted, puffing his cheeks, his eyes glaring at Bai Wu. Anyway, I helped you prepare everything clearly. I even shared the profits with the bosses behind the broadcast outside the tower. At the very least, you must give me a chance to use that camera. Upon hearing about the camera, Bai Wu immediately became alert. That's only natural, but since we are partners, can you tell me what makes that camera so special? Why are you so interested in it? What has it captured? Lu Chengza felt a bit flustered, only thinking about how Bai Wu had tricked him. Who told you that camera was anything special? That question is unnecessary. Once I determined that this camera has captured certain images, there must be a reason to speculate. Moreover, your expression has revealed something. Since we are partners, why not share a bit about it? Of course, if you can't, you can refuse. Bai Wu had long been curious about this matter. Lu Chengza sighed and nodded. After all, this story was still unfolding. 2 years ago, 2 of my friends disappeared. Within the tower, everything was clearly hierarchical. Those above often bullied those below. 3 years ago, the women on the lower floors began disappearing one by one, with a new one gone each week. There was a clear commonality. They were all incredibly beautiful. Men from the lower floors to 3 floors above, the outcomes were often not much different. They were taken to casinos, forced to fight for survival. The women fared no better. Yet, the beautiful girls often endured far more brutal fates. You can guess that, can't you? Bai Wu nodded, aware that in the tower's archaic social system, such occurrences were all too easy. What those girls went through might be even more tragic than we could imagine. When those above grew bored and lost interest in them, they wouldn't return. Instead, they'd be thrown out of the tower. I've heard that the monsters outside are all transformed from humans. Bai Wu, do you think that one day, when you venture outside the tower to investigate, you might encounter those who once lived within it? Lu Chengza's mood grew increasingly somber. Bai Wu was momentarily at a loss for how to respond to this question. It seemed that this question truly had no answer. In the past, I had done some other things. My 2 close friends and I opened a fashion store together, so that those on the lower floors could also dress beautifully. Cool, right? Don't look at me like that. I once had high ideals too. It's just that they faded away. The goals that the 3 of us planned to pursue together naturally ceased to exist. The store had to close down. I consider myself fortunate to have escaped a calamity. I can no longer muster the will to continue the tasks of the past. To seek justice against the army in the tower and the high-ranking nobles, one must possess undeniable evidence. How wonderful it would be if they simply refrained from meddling in the affairs of others. Lu Chengza reminisced about his friend and smiled, but the smile quickly faded into somberness. He did not speak of the origins of the camera. Yet Bok Vu had already deduced a response close to the truth. Those 2 girls had likely ventured to investigate the sordid trade of the upper floors selling the girls from below. That was not a matter for those on the lower floors to intervene. The missing girls often had no refuge to turn to. Lu Chengza's 2 friends opening a shop on the lower floor perhaps indicated that these 3 women possessed a modicum of talent and connections. Theoretically speaking, the depraved ones from above, seeking to indulge with women, would not choose such individuals. Yet they went ahead and captured the unimaginable. However, this left behind significant consequences. The film in the camera was ultimately destroyed, and its owner vanished without a trace. Lu Chengze continually acquainted himself with men of various standings. As his network expanded, so too did the need for vigilance. Today, registering as a mercenary was alarmingly easy. This also facilitated the unscrupulous dealings of those above. Truly, it was a world of towering spires, extending from the highest peaks to the depths below. Like those endowed with potential, such as 59, waiting for the dawn, they found themselves with too few options. To harbor a heart that defends righteousness is noble, yet they lacked the means to accurately gauge their adversaries. Bok Vu suddenly spoke, catching Lu Chengze off guard. It seems you've already guessed. Lu Chengze struggled to contain his sorrowful emotions. Feigning ease. It's been so long, they must surely be despised by those above and cast out of the tower. Bok Vu, do you think if I were to encounter my friends again, now turned villains, they would feast upon me? Speaking of this dreadful truth, Lu Chengze nearly choked on his words. The world beyond the tower was vast, and there was no need to dwell on events that had yet to unfold.